The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. So we're thinking polar vortex, and after bringing the baseball guy. Nate Rowan, happy to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Co-hosting Mike Catalana, of course.
Good to be here.
And Pat Duffy, what do you got?
Well, Super Bowl's in
One of
Atlanta.
my favorite guys, actually.
Yeah, Super Bowl's in Atlanta. I figured I would rock the Pistol Pete Maravich Atlanta Hawks jersey. It's got the Pistol nickname on the back. The best and most insane professional athlete to ever play the game.
Yeah, he is forgotten too much, I think. That is a guy, imagine Pistol Pete in today's NBA. He's one of those guys that would have been fantastic.
Actually wore pistol on the back, like you said.
Yeah, it's got it on the back, but here's the thing. He wouldn't have made it because he was so insane that social media would have ruined his career in like 15 minutes. Guy was nuts.
Yeah, it's too bad, and he died young, too.
Yeah.
This is a tragic
Kind of
story.
ruined the end of that.
Look, Nate, well, you know, baseball and all that, but let's talk Super Bowl first. I know you pay close attention to this kind of stuff. Where's the game decided from where you sit?
To me, I think it's the Rams. Everybody wants to talk about their offense and how explosive it's been, but if you look at the last several weeks down the stretch and in the playoffs, their defense was really the reason they got to where they're at. And in that Saints game, early in the game, they held them to this field goal on the first drive. They get the turnover, and it's deep in Rams territory, and they hold them to a field goal again. That game really could have got away from the Rams, but their defense held firm and allowed their offense to get on track. If their defensive line can get pressure on Tom Brady, I think they have a really good chance. And I think obviously there are matchup nightmares in the secondary with the Patriots and the Rams secondary. But I think if their defensive line, which certainly has the guys to do so, if they can get pressure on Brady, I think it could be a long day for the Patriots.
Everybody says that, you know, that's the formula. So few teams seem capable of doing it.
Okay, this is my last chance to go back to last year's Super Bowl.
Oh,
but
for God's sakes, they won. We get it.
They did nothing against Brady for 57 minutes. No pressure, couldn't get to him. Now, they did get the big sack late, but they won the game because of the quarterback. Just like Seattle should have won the game based on their quarterback until he threw the interception at the end, and Atlanta should have won the game with a 28-3 lead and did not. I think it comes down to the quarterback. I think it's all about Goff. Brady's going to play well. He always plays well. He's played well. They lost last year, and he played great in the game. It's going to be Goff. Is Goff the young guy with his moment who shines in that moment, or does he shrink down? I was impressed how he played in the second half, and that's in New Orleans on the road, and that's tough. But this is the Super Bowl where you're going to have to match up with Brady. Goff's got to play really well for them to win.
You're right, but you're mostly wrong. Brady's going to play well. I think Goff's going to play well. I mean, the offenses are tailored. I don't think that the Patriots' defense is anything that scares McVay and his people. Whoever runs the ball better in this game is going to win this game. Whoever has control of the offensive pace wins this game. Because listen, Brady's going to get his shots, and Brady's going to be able to keep up with whatever you're doing. If Gurley and, what are they calling him now? Colonel Thick Mode, which I love. I love C.J. Anderson. If they're able to control the line of scrimmage and hold possession longer than the Patriots will, I mean, that's what's so funny about this league, right? All season long, it's air raid, air raid, air raid. It's going to be great, it's going to be great. This is going to come down to old-fashioned football. You're going to have a high score, but if you can control the line of scrimmage and run the ball well, you're going to win this game.
I was like intangibles, and one thing that struck me is the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl was how much respect the Rams weren't paid because of what happened in New Orleans.
The Patriots are the underdogs.
Oh my God!
I don't think deep down they can possibly believe
that. And here's one other thing. Sean McVay got bailed out in that game. He made a call late in that game against the Rams where he kicked the field goal on 4th and 1. And typical coach speak afterward, he said, well, you know, and it ended up working out. It worked out because of the horrific call, and you didn't get the points. If you're going to beat the Patriots on Sunday, I'm not saying you have to be reckless, but you have to be aggressive. They should have gone for a touchdown in that game. They got fortunate to win the game. He better be an aggressive mindset if they want to beat New England in the Super Bowl.
Well, and they've done that. They did that all season. So when you get to the biggest point of your season in the playoffs and the coach decides, well, we're not going to do exactly what we did all regular season, to me, that doesn't scream confidence in a coach, because a coach is going away from everything that got him to that point. Last year, you talk about the Eagles. That's what got them to beat the Patriots. Doug Peterson took chances, and it worked out for him. The Rams are going to have to do it.
He just mentioned that it worked out.
Yeah, give me a winner.
I'm going to take the Rams, and so anyone who wants to bet on it should take the Patriots.
I'm picking the Patriots. I don't have faith in the Rams. I don't have the faith in their offense to win the game if it goes the way it normally goes. But like all right-thinking people, I'll be rooting for the Rams.
I got a horse in the race, so I'll pass.
Wait,
this
pass.
Will be actually,
You
I'm
know who
passing.
you're picking.
Yeah, we all have horses in the race. We all hate the Patriots, which is why I'm taking the Rams. I don't care who I think is going to win. There's no way I'm taking the Patriots to win another Super Bowl.
Will that be our tiebreaker then?
What's that?
You and I finish in a tie.
Oh, wow, you get the Patriots to win the Super Bowl? You want that to be your tiebreaker?
No,
hey,
you
let's
can
see.
have it.
How about it snows in December? You want
Take
to
the
get the
Patriots.
tiebreaker? No, I'm not taking the Patriots. I'm not picking the Patriots.
You just
Rams.
shot the legs out of your own pick.
Done. All right, you know what? No, tiebreaker. Rams. Done. This is going to be the greatest victory of my life.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We'll talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Lessons from the Super Bowl that the Buffalo Bills can kind of take to the bank. The thing that sticks out to me is the offensive lines. Is that you can build these lines and you can do it like the Rams did rather quickly.
Yeah, you can. You can build up a line, and some of it is certainly is coaching, is scheme. New England has always been, Dante Scarnecchia has been their offensive line coach, I think, 16 of the last 17 years. They always seem to have that. You also have Tom Brady. And with the Rams, you have a system where the ball comes out usually pretty quickly, and that helps every offensive line. I don't know if you go by anything New England does, right? The way they go about doing their business, because it all just seems to get back to the point where here we are again in the Super Bowl, no matter what the talent level is that they have. But I think the Bills are fully aware, and it's funny, even when they were good on the offensive line, remember the criticism a few years ago, they're aging and unathletic, and the guys got all upset about it. But it really was not a very athletic offensive line. And I think that's where the game has changed, even from the inside out. I think you'll notice that in this game. Everybody used to go, oh, tackle, get your big tackle, spend all this money. I think they're looking more in the interior of the line. I think that's the lesson the Bills will learn in order to help Josh Allen going forward.
You know, Brady is the default thing. Everyone goes, it's all Tom Brady. But there's a lot of teams in the NFL that have got quality franchise quarterbacks and don't have that track record. So I think it cheapens the whole outlook thing if you just lay it at the feet of one guy.
Well, you lay it at the feet of Brady and Belichick together, right? Like, very rarely do you have a coach and a quarterback come together to have the success based on scheme that exploits the talents that person has, and I think that's what they have. But I mean, if the question is the lesson that the Bills are going to learn, it's a painful one. It's that the cohesion of a general manager and a head coach is very important because, listen, there are, at least for AFC NFC Championship weekend, a ton of former Bills on those rosters. Nickel Roby Coleman and Robert Woods are playing in the Super Bowl, right? Ramon Humber is playing in the Super Bowl with the Patriots. Sammy Watkins was a wide receiver, he's playing with the Chiefs, right? At what point is Doug Whaley going to get a little bit of credit for the players that he was able to take? Like, the story was when he was together with Rex, they weren't meshing together, and that's why the players weren't working. It's not so much having the good players. It's having a head coach and a general manager on the same page to use them in the right way. Hopefully, and it seems this way, that we have that now in Buffalo. But to see these guys that you took in the top 3-4 rounds having the success on this grand stage, it's not great for the franchise, for Pagula, but it does redeem Whaley a little bit.
That's an interesting take. I do. Whaley being spoken of in a positive vein doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the teams that were in the playoffs in the NFL, I mean, a lot of them had really good offensive lines, whether they had the big names or not. The Colts' biggest reason for their turnaround this year and the reason they got into the playoffs was their offensive line. Obviously, Andrew Luck was healthy and that helped, but he stayed on his feet. That's really important. If your offensive line can block, you can do a lot more different things, and that really limited what the Bills could do offensively last year because Josh Allen was constantly running for his life, literally.
Yeah, and the interior that's what we're saying is such a big deal, and that's I was listening to a scout talk about the difference between the interior and the outside of the line, and he said you can help a tackle. It's hard to help an interior lineman. And if you're constantly getting beat up the middle, and that's what you said about Brady, that's what they've been able to avoid. If you're constantly having that pressure come up the middle, it makes it tough on every quarterback. It's hard to chip for a guard. You can do it for a tackle. So don't be surprised if the Bills put resources, draft, and also free agency into the interior of the line.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Today is all about belief. Right? It's not enough for me to believe it. It's not enough for Coach Hill or Coach Barstrom to believe it. You have to be the ones that believe that you are capable of running the way that we all know you are capable of, and that those negative thoughts that are coming into your head, you can acknowledge and push away. What's your response to them going to be? 5 more meters, 5 more meters, 5 more meters.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, where we finally get around to talking a little baseball with you, Nate. Like it or not, the state of free agency in the major leagues right now.
I hate it. I think what happens when you have two superstars like Machado and Harper who don't have deals, it affects everybody else. There are minor league free agents, for example, with us that are not signed because major league teams that have a solidified third baseman don't need to sign a big-time minor league free agent to play third base in AAA. So it has a trickle-down effect where teams are kind of in this waiting period where they're waiting for these guys to sign, and teams are just getting smarter about these deals. These guys think they're going to get 10 years and $30 million a year. It's just not going to happen. So until the players flinch, I think this could go on for a little bit.
Yeah, but the fact that they used to get it, does that mean that they should still get it?
No, the example I saw was, okay, when I was a kid, I went to go get Hershey bars at the convenience store, okay? I make more money now than when I was a kid. That doesn't mean I'm going to pay $5 for a Hershey bar.
I would pay $5 for a Hershey bar.
But, it's to look at the past, teams are smarter now, okay? The deals with Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols are the two guys in baseball right now that are really limiting their teams. They aged past their contracts. Teams are not going to pay these guys for deep into their 30s.
But what I find interesting about that argument is if there is a guy you should pay 10 years, $30 million a year for, it's Bryce Harper. Like, he's the youngest guy to hit this threshold maybe in Major League Baseball history. Like, it's funny, you learn from the mistakes of the past, and the guy that finally you should throw the money at, well, now we're going to see who blinks first. It doesn't make sense.
There's two different arguments here. The one being, are these guys worth the money? The other being, Major League Baseball has something that should be capturing the attention of sports fans, and they mess it up. It's spread out. It needs to be. Look at what the NFL does. The NFL figures out a way. NBA, their off season is truncated into a period of time, and everybody goes at it, and the deals get done. That's what you need in Major League Baseball. There has to be it's too much time in order to make these deals.
I think what's happened, too, is the luxury tax in baseball has become a de facto salary cap.
Which is not a good thing, because to me, if a team wants to pay all this money for guys, let them pay the money to, why would the players union agree to something that hurts the players making more money? So then you have some teams in baseball that don't have no chance to sign Harper and Machado based on how much money they make, right? So they're completely out. If you look at Harper and Machado, there's only 4, 5, 6 teams maybe in the entire sport that can afford to pay them what they're wanting to get, and that's the biggest problem.
Hey, like it or not, Buffalo Sabres' chances of a second half rally into the playoffs.
After what happened on Tuesday night, really, really good? No, I don't know. There are games where I sit down and I watch the Sabres team and I'm in love with what they're doing. Like recently, the secondary scoring's been there. The younger guys are showing up. Evan Rodriguez has been playing out of his mind. Tage Thompson's shot in space is phenomenal. And then there are games where I sit down and watch and it's like, what are we doing here? Nobody can do anything. I think that the key to a push towards a playoff spot is leaning more on Linus Ullmark than Carter Hutton. I think you got to see if Ullmark can do it. And I think that Ullmark's the guy that holds that mystery key.
It's just a small sample size. I hate the idea they've got to open up with 3 games in 4 days in 3 cities. It's like, ugh. That's
Yeah,
tough.
but then they have seven
at
straight
home
games
over
at
14
home,
days, 15
and they are coming off their week off, their 10 days off that they had. So this is the time when they better be picking up points. They had the benefit of it early, but now some of these teams they're chasing are sitting and watching. This is the time to get points. This is when you try to earn the playoff
Well,
spot.
this is a stretch. They start with Dallas on Wednesday, then they play Chicago, then they play Minnesota. The Central's not very good this year. If they want to make up some room here, this is a good point to start it because these teams that they're playing from the Central just aren't very good this year.
It's funny, there's more hockey spoken in the baseball press box in Rochester than there is baseball.
I'm from Minnesota. It's in my blood.
This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
Get 2 for 2 egg and cheese wraps, 2 for 4 bagels with cream cheese spread, and 2 for 5 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants with Dunkin' Go-Tos. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'.
A couple of weeks ago after the national championship, we were talking about Dabo Swinney and Clemson. Catalana said, hey, I think Dabo Swinney looks like a good guy. And I laughed and said why he shouldn't. Think he's a good guy. On our YouTube page, some Clemson fans found it, and I've been getting bombarded by people who are fans of Clemson yelling at me for saying Dabo Swinney isn't a good guy. And that's fine. Do what you want. It doesn't bother me. You live in the South. You got enough problems. And in fact, I wasn't even saying it's a Dabo Swinney thing. It's nothing personal against Dabo Swinney. It's every major successful Division I sports coach. You can't be a good guy and have that job. You have to balance the success of 18 to 22-year-old kids along with your own personal success that gets you paid. You have to make decisions that are not always the most ethical. You have to do things to succeed that nobody sees behind the scenes. You show me a man or a woman that has been successful at high-level Division I sports, and I will show you a man or a woman that is ethically challenged. It's nothing personal against Dabo. You just can't do that job and be a good human being.
You had me at you live in the South. You have enough problems.
I've been down there, man. It's... hey, it's good for you, guy. That's great. Good for them.
What do you got, Nate?
Last weekend, I had the Pro Bowl on and the NHL All-Star Game on Saturday, and I realized that I wasn't on board with getting rid of All-Star Games until this weekend. The Pro Bowl is entirely worthless. You have offensive players like Saquon Barkley playing defense, which has to make the New York Giants incredibly excited. You have the game being played in the rain, which is idiotic. At least in the past, the teams got to go to Hawaii. But the NHL All-Star Game did whatever it could to try to make the game interesting. And 3-on-3, for whether you want to argue it or not, makes the game more exciting because you can't coast on 3-on-3 if your team's going to win. They've tried to incentivize these players with money, and that hasn't worked. The NBA is a complete joke of an All-Star Game. Major League Baseball, there's not really a way to play it without giving an effort, because if you're a pitcher, you have to throw the ball over the plate, and if you throw the ball over the plate without any velocity, it's going to get hit. I think it's time to get rid of All-Star Games, and this weekend with the NHL and the NFL All-Star Games, if you will, really made me think that it's time to get rid of them.
However, I came away from the Amerks game, the last home game they played prior to those games, watching the 3-on-3, and I can't think of another instance in sports that is more exciting than watching 5 minutes of 3-on-3 hockey.
He gets so
Shut
excited
up.
as soon as you mention
It's not real hockey. Why don't we play paintball to see who wins the game? How about that? It's as much hockey as 3-on-3 is.
I'm
Let's
not
do that
arguing
instead.
about its legitimacy so much. It's exciting.
Dabo's a bad person. 3-on-3 hockey's awful.
All right, so the NBA's in its silly season now, and right now it appears that Clutch Sports, that's LeBron's agency, is trying to run the entire league. They're trying to push Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind here, all these guys that are supposed to go to the Lakers just haven't found their way to the Lakers outside of LeBron. LeBron orchestrated that. Can he get Anthony Davis? The next step, of course, is Kyrie Irving actually apologized to LeBron. They spoke, and now naturally all the rumors are, oh, Kyrie's going to leave Boston and he's going to go to LA. And maybe Anthony Davis is going to do the same thing too. Heck, why not get Kawhi Leonard to go there? Maybe Paul George will end up leaving Oklahoma City and get them all there. It's the silly season of the NBA. But to go back to what we talked about with baseball, It has people interested. It has people talking about the sport while it's going on, while it's not going on. The NBA, I know people in Rochester don't always want to hear it, still captivates people, even though it's a league that everybody knows who's going to end up winning the championship.
But and to that point, it marginalizes 85% of the franchises.
It does to a point, but the games are sold out, the ratings are high, and people are interested. And it's what baseball hasn't been able to do. They capture the offseason, they capture the silly season, and people still watch the playoffs.
All right. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, presented by Duncan. Nate, good job.
Thanks.
Nice to have you back. Let's get the baseball season.
Appreciate it.
Good
Well,
job.
as opposed to the last time you were here. I just
Wow.
didn't go.
People just didn't see the outtakes, you know.
Well, we want people
There
to...
goes his press box seat.
Actually, I always enjoy it when you're here. Mike, thanks.
Yeah, it was great.
Duffy, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.